Hey everybody, my name is Rick. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to talk about my 2020 Willys, and we're going to do a 4,000 mile update. In keeping with the tradition of doing 1,000 mile updates like I did on my Crosstrek, I am going to do updates pretty regularly with the Jeep here. The last one I did was at about 1,000 miles. I hit 4,000 miles a couple weeks ago and took the Jeep in for its first oil change and tire rotation. And when you buy a Wrangler these days, you're in what's called the Jeep Wave program, and they give you a few oil changes and a few tire rotations for free. So kind of a good way to get it familiar with your dealer if you're planning on doing any maintenance over there. I also had a couple other concerns when I went in, and we've talked about it in previous Jeep videos, and that's just basically that little bit of vague steering feel, especially on the highway. It's nothing that I can't live without, but it's definitely noticeable some days. It's not all the time, but it's just a little bit vague in the middle. It's almost like you have to overcorrect or you'll go too far and then come back. So it doesn't sound like from my reading that it's the same issue that the 18s and 19s had, but the service writer was actually familiar with it, and I'll tell you how that ended up here in a little bit. The second thing I wanted to do when I was in for the oil change and the tire rotation was to have them address, I'm having a little bit of a rattle. It's somewhere along the A-pillar and up into the one panel of the Freedom top, and I haven't been able to figure out what that is yet. It's also intermittent, and you guys know how rattles are. You take them in sometimes and they can't find it. Of course, it doesn't redo it. It doesn't do the noise when you're in the dealership, so we'll see how that ends up. As far as the steering feel goes, they went over the suspension. Everything was tight. They didn't find anything loose or misaligned or anything along those lines. And he said it's a common thing, and they're going to go ahead and order me, or they did order me, a steering damper. And they're having to order so many of those right now that they can only order one a week. And mine should be coming in here in the next few weeks. Like I mentioned, it's really not something I can't live with. It's not that bad, but it's just a little weird. So they're going to do that steering damper, and I'll let you know if that actually ends up fixing my problem or not. There has been mention of people on some of the forums, they say lower the tire pressures. The dealers tend to inflate them pretty high. Some people are running 36, some people are even a little bit lower than that. When I got mine, it was at 45, I think, all the way around, and I've got it down to about 40 now, and hasn't really changed the way the car feels at all. So I may try to go a little bit lower, but again, it's not a major issue for me. As far as the rattle goes, initially I thought it was maybe the latch on this side of the Freedom panel because it felt a little bit not as snug as the latch on the other side. They, of course, checked it out, at least they said they did, and didn't find anything. And he said if it's not fixed, they can always order a new panel, but I really don't want to go that route, especially since I have the sound deadening attached to the panel I have now. So I'm going to spend a little more time looking around. It's intermittent, and I just cannot pinpoint where it's coming from. So it may be something I just live with. We'll see. If anyone else with a newer Jeep has a rattle there that you're familiar with, if you could let me know what you found or if you had any resolution to that, that would be awesome. Beyond those two things, they just do their inspection, the oil change, and tire rotation, and address my two issues. Went well. My local dealer's cool. No issues there. So I was going to talk a little bit about just my general thoughts now, 4,000 miles in with the Jeep. And if you've been around the channel a long time, or if you've been watching my Jeep videos, I tend to compare it to my Crosstrek just because most of my followers came along with the Crosstrek. So some people have been asking, do I miss the Subaru? And to be honest with you, I love that little car. I still like it. My son's using it now. I have no complaints about that little guy. It's just a great vehicle. As you know, the main reason I went with the Jeep is just to be able to go a little bit more off-road, a little further, and just safer. And one of the things I talked about in my last off-road video was just how the Jeep does everything the Crosstrek could do, but it's just easy. It's like effortless, which is nice. You don't have to stress out about rubbing or hitting the underside on something, or you know what I mean. It's just easier to use. So that's a nice thing. I'm not going to be rock crawling or doing crazy stuff with the Jeep, but it's just nice to have the option to go a little bit further. So I don't really miss the Crosstrek. Probably the one thing that I do miss is that the gas mileage was much better. I would average 26 to 30 in the Crosstrek, where with the Jeep, pretty much 20 to 23. And my trip meter, I haven't I haven't reset yet on the B side, and I'm averaging right at 20 miles per gallon. It's gone down just a tiny bit with the winter here, just from using the remote start and warming the car up. But otherwise, I have no complaints with 20 miles per gallon in a Jeep. Compared to my Rubicon, I got 16 in that no matter what I did, sometimes 15. So this is a more powerful motor and more torque, so I'm happy with 20 miles per gallon, especially with gas prices cheap right now. Speaking of warming up the car, one of the things I found that was kind of cool, when you use the remote start, it actually turns on the steering wheel heater as well as the driver's side seat warmer, which is kind of cool. And I believe it turns on the defrost, or it turns on the heater. So that's kind of neat. First world problems, but it's kind of a neat option, something I never would have even thought about in a Jeep, a steering wheel heater, even in 2005 when I had my other one. The one thing that has surprised me the most with this Jeep is how easy it is to live with as a daily driver. The visibility out of this thing is excellent. The backup camera is excellent. The seats to me are comfortable. It has all the amenities you can imagine that you would want in a modern vehicle. It's got Bluetooth. I mentioned the seat warmer, the steering wheel warmer. It has XM. It has, the screen is not that big, but it's a nice little screen. The controls are easy to use, or easy to reach. And I'm somebody that actually likes knobs and being able to actually use things. I don't like having to control things on a computer screen. So basically with the Jeep, you have both options. You have a whole menu that you can go through for certain controls on the screen, or you can just use the knobs, which is great. There's steering wheel controls, which are easy to use. So as a daily driver, this thing I love it. There's plenty of room with the 4-door. The seats fold almost flat. I can put my bike in there without the front wheel on with absolutely no problem at all. It's a really nice experience. It's actually quieter than my Crosstrek, as I mentioned before. I don't know if it's just that the KO2s are louder than these destinations, or if the Jeep being higher up off the road, you're just not getting that tire noise as much. But it's a pleasure to drive. It really is. I have no complaints, and I'm actually shocked at how quick this guy is. When you get on it, it definitely moves out of the way. So that's been kind of nice, especially living with the Crosstrek for so many years, which, again, not complaining about the power in the Crosstrek. The 18 was fine for me, but it is nice to be able to pull out in certain situations that I would have to wait for with the Crosstrek. As far as the head unit goes in the Jeep, it's been pretty solid so far. I had a number of issues with the head unit in the Crosstrek. This one a few times has been a little bit slow to load, or hasn't loaded once or twice, so you just turn the Jeep off, turn it back on. And one of the other things I've noticed, I mentioned it actually in the previous video, the 1,000-mile update, that the phone doesn't automatically connect via Bluetooth all the time. Kind of weird, because if I say I'm in the shop here listening to Bluetooth music on a speaker in here, and then I take the phone and get in the Jeep and drive off, it'll work. It'll start playing from where I was. But it doesn't always connect to the phone, and you have to go through the menu real quick and connect your phone. Strange. CarPlay, on the other hand, has worked pretty flawlessly, other than if I have my phone connected to CarPlay, I'm using CarPlay, I drive somewhere, leave the phone connected, turn the Jeep off, go inside, come back out, start the Jeep up, CarPlay won't initiate, which is weird, unless you unplug it and plug it back in. So I'm not really sure what that's all about, but not a huge deal. Just thought I would mention it to see if anyone else is dealing with that. That's about it. I don't have a whole lot more on the 4,000-mile update. Enjoying the vehicle so far, and no significant issues. So can't complain. Happy to be driving the Jeep. And my son is really enjoying the Crosstrek, so it's kind of a win-win for both of us. But as always, if you guys have questions, please leave those below, and I'll leave my email as well if you want to email me direct. I try my best to respond to every single comment below. Happy to help you guys, whether it's with the Crosstrek or the Jeep or the 911, whatever you need help with. Send me an email, and if I can help out, I will. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll check in with you soon. Take care.